Evelyn shivered, pulling her coat tighter. Frost Hill. Even the name was a whisper of cold. The old house loomed, a silhouette against the grey sky. Wind howled through the pines, their branches clawing like skeletal fingers. She was alone, utterly alone. Inside, the air hung heavy, thick with the scent of damp wood and thyme. Dust motes danced in the weak sunlight filtering through grimy windows. The silence was absolute, broken only by the creak of the floorboards beneath her feet. A shiver ran down her spine, a primal fear tingling at the edges of her awareness. Nightfall brought an oppressive darkness, the kind that seemed to have weight. Shadows stretched and twisted, playing tricks on her eyes. A log shifted in the fireplace, sending sparks whirling up the chimney like fleeing spirits. Sleep wouldn't come. Every creak of the house, every sigh of the wind sent her heart racing. Then the feeling, the certainty that she was being watched. She turned slowly, scanning the room. Nothing, but the feeling persisted, a cold presence that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. She lay awake, listening to the silence, waiting for dawn. The first rays of dawn brought a sliver of relief. She hurried to the window, desperate for the reassurance of daylight. That's when she saw them. Footprints. In the fresh snow that had fallen during the night. They circled the house, stopping just beneath her window, large, heavy footprints, and they weren't hers. Panic surged through her, cold and sharp. Someone had been watching her, someone or something. She was trapped, isolated on this desolate hilltop with an unknown entity. The footprints were a stark reminder. She wasn't alone. Days turned into a blur of fear. The feeling of being watched intensified, became a constant pressure. She caught glimpses of movement in the woods, shadows flitting just beyond her sight. The wind seemed to whisper her name, a low, mournful sound that chilled her to the bone. Then, one night, she saw it, a shape in the darkness, tall and gaunt, silhouetted against the moonlit snow. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, gliding rather than walking. The shadow. It had come for her. The scream died in her throat. Paralyzed with terror, she could only watch as the shadow moved closer, its eyes burning with a cold, malevolent light. It reached for her, long, skeletal fingers scraping against the window pane. The sound broke the spell. She scrambled back, heart pounding against her ribs. She had to get out. She had to escape. She threw open the back door and ran, the icy air biting at her lungs. Behind her, she heard a sound, a low growl that seemed to shake the very ground beneath her feet. The chase was on. Seeking refuge, finding none, the haunting continues. The lights of the town twinkled in the distance, a beacon of hope in the darkness. She didn't dare slow down, not even when her lungs burned and her legs screamed for mercy. She burst into the warmth of the diner, gasping for breath, her eyes wild with terror. Safe, for now. But the memory of the shadow lingered, a dark stain on her mind. She knew with a chilling certainty that she couldn't outrun the horror of Frost Hill. It had followed her, and it would always be there, lurking just beyond the edges of her vision, waiting to claim her. The psychological toll fear's grip on Evelyn's mind. The warmth of the diner did little to quell the icy dread that had seeped into Evelyn's bones. The faces around her blurred, their voices a dull murmur in the distance. Her mind was a whirlwind of the night's horrors. The footprints, the shadow, the inhuman eyes. She was safe, surrounded by people, bathed in light. Yet the fear remained, a suffocating blanket that threatened to consume her. Every creak of the diner door, every shadow that flickered on the wall sent her heart racing, her body instinctively bracing for another glimpse of the terror she had escaped. The mystery endures unanswered questions on Frost Hill. Days turned into weeks, but the memory of Frost Hill refused to fade. The townspeople spoke of the old house in hushed tones, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and fascination. Some whispered of ancient legends, of a darkness that clung to the land, preying on those foolish enough to venture too close. But the true nature of the entity that haunted Frost Hill remained a mystery. What was the shadow? Why did it target her? The questions gnawed at Evelyn's sanity, each unanswered query a testament to the horrifying unknown that lurked just beyond the veil of reality. A haunting reminder, the unseen terror that lingers. Evelyn never returned to Frost Hill. The mere thought of that desolate place sent chills down her spine. She tried to move on, to rebuild her life, but the shadow followed her. It haunted her dreams, a constant reminder of the terror she had faced. She knew with a certainty that chilled her to her core that she wasn't truly free. The shadow still lingered, a malevolent presence lurking just beyond the periphery of her vision. And somewhere on that desolate hilltop the old house stood, a silent sentinel to the unseen terror that haunted Frost Hill.